Who has not heard about the novel Les Misérables, or seen its plays that were adapted by many artists? It is one of the masterpieces of the French literature, especially as it portrays misery and poverty. It is also considered one of the most important novels that criticizes the social reality at the end of the 19th century. And it addresses and analyzes the economic and social reality of France during the fall of Napoleon in the year 1815 AD, and the failure of the French Revolution project. In a creative form, the French thinker and novelist Victor Hugo, through his masterpiece Les Misérables, and through the main character in this novel, the former prisoner Jean Valjean, amaze us with the life of this prisoner and the social and political situation in France during the French Revolution, within a framework of suspense, fun, philosophical meanings and morals mixed with the concept of interests, goals, good and evil, and the values of justice and injustice. So what are the main ideas of this novel? Les Misérables, by Victor Hugo. The novel begins with the release of the main character, Jean Valjean, from prison, this world of torture, darkness and contempt. Jean Valjean is released from prison on parole. Everything has changed since that person who went to prison is no longer the same, he is another one with other features. Prison changed everything in him, but the most important thing in this experience was that he learned to read and write with some basic arithmetic operations. And because the prison is a world marked by fear, loss of confidence, and torture, he used to carry a yellow passport held by those with a criminal record, so hotels and hostels refuse to receive him, and they have the right to do that. How do hotels receive criminals? And because everyone refused to receive Jean Valjean, he found nothing but the side of the road to protect him from misery and sadness. After that, Jean Valjean meets a bishop named Merrill and hosts him in his house, but Jean will steal some silverware from the bishop's house and then runs away. But the interesting thing is that when Jean was arrested, Merrill said that Jean is not a thief and that he is the one who gave him the silverware, so Jean was released, and Merrill's condition was that Jean Valjean give his life to God and be a good person for himself, his society and the values of his religion. Bit to remember, prison did not change the moral nature of Jean Valjean, so instead of being a place for repairing, it became a place for corrupt values. Jean Valjean did not only steal once, but he did it again, as old habits die hard, as we know. Perhaps here the nature of his personality is the main cause, but what happened this time is relatively different, as he felt some kind of regret and reluctance, and began to look for the person he robbed, in order to return what he stole from him. But sometimes time is against us, and we become victims of our own impulses. The theft has already been reported to the police, forcing Jean Valjean to lay low and live in fear of re-experiencing the horrific prison experience. Jean Valjean changed his name to Madeleine and became mayor of a city, while he was walking in one of the streets that were almost empty. Madeleine saw a man groaning under the wheels of a car screaming for help. Madeleine didn't stop until he lifted this car off the man very easy. This strange intervention from Madeleine provoked an investigator named Javier, who was the former guard in Toulon prison during Jean's sentence. And he began to doubt that this act could not be done by Madeleine, because in fact this power is possessed only by Jean Valjean. Bit to remember, Jean Valjean's temperament did not disappear with time, despite the change of his name. The novel Les Misérables continues to draw the map of misery and its features in all the details and events of the novel, telling us that in this period of time there was a simple worker called Fantine. This woman had an affair with a foolish man, and after he dumped her, she became pregnant and gave birth to a baby girl. This miserable reality affected Fantine's social and economic conditions, so she decided to go to a city called Montreuil-sur-Mer to work in the factory of Madeleine the mayor and leave her young daughter with the family of Thénardiers to take care of her in exchange for money. What distinguishes this family is that the father is a drunk guy with bad manners. The reality is getting worse, and perhaps it is the cruelty of fates. Fantine's child, Cosette, was used by this bad family, as they began to make her work in bad things. And the misery didn't stop there. It increases when Fantine was fired from the factory, and she was forced to do things she didn't want. One day, Fantine was assaulted and harassed by a passerby, and she was forced to defend herself by beating him, and as a result she was arrested by Inspector Javier, and she was sentenced to prison. Bit to remember, sometimes, the miserable reality forces people to make catastrophic choices in their life, as Fantine did. Fantine was living through a tragic reality, from being fired from work, to prison, to the loss of her young daughter. All this tragedy did not intercede for her, and she lived a difficult experience in a terrible world called prison. This made Madeleine the mayor of the city, to ask for her release, and he had what he wanted, but her end was more tragic than before, as she died of grief leaving her young daughter. Fantine's story was not the only example of this tragic reality. We all remember what happened to Jean Valjean, who changed his name to Madeleine. Also, in this period of time, a theft occurred by a poor man who stole a loaf of bread because he was very hungry. All these justifications of this thief were not enough for the inspector named Javier, who was known to be obsessed with Jean Valjean. As he thought that Jean Valjean was behind all the thefts that took place, relying on archives and specifications that made him wish that Jean would one day be arrested. And because the inspector was convinced that every theft is caused by this man, he accused this thief of being Jean, the former prisoner he knew in Toulon prison. Victor Hugo's wonderful and tragic novel tells us that the Mayor Madeleine, Jean Valjean himself, had a long struggle with himself, and began to remember the will of Merrill, the bishop, that Jean had stolen his silverware. After this intellectual and psychological test, Madeleine decided to turn himself to the judiciary as Jean Valjean. The primary motive was his conscience, which is growing inside us little by little. So he decided to save this poor thief from the hand of an assumed justice, and to tell everyone his truth, even if his life would end again behind the bars of the same prison. Bit to remember, in a wake-up call of conscience, Jean Valjean was able to acquit the real accused of theft.